Taking the bullet train in Japan shouldn't be hard or stressful. You just need to avoid the mistakes that 90% of travellers make, like obsessing about buying tickets way in advance. Far too many people think that bullet trains work like airlines. They think that if they don't book a ticket weeks beforehand, the trains will be sold out. But the thing is, that rarely happens. Around 10 to 15 trains run every hour between Tokyo and Osaka, so it's not like there's a shortage. And there are lots of reserved seats. But if you do find a train with all the seats booked up, don't worry, just take an earlier or later train, or sit in one of the cars with unreserved seats. See, this year in March, in peak tourist season, I went to Kyoto and Osaka a couple of times, and I bought tickets 20 minutes before departure, and I had zero trouble reserving seats. See, many of you are so preoccupied with buying tickets early that you never stop to think if you should. So buying tickets 1 or 2 days beforehand is more than enough, and on the day is fine, unless you're super picky about seat positions. The exception to this, of course, is if you're travelling during these busy periods. If that's you, buying early actually is good advice. Now, the second error I see tourists making is actually getting the absolute worst kind of ticket. Look, here are the ticket gates at the bullet train station. This terrible type of ticket is more expensive if you buy it from certain travel sites, but it might not work first time when you go through the gates. Plus, it's slower than any other type of ticket. So, should you use it? Well, no, of course not. You've got a brain. I'm talking about QR code tickets. Lots of YouTubers get paid by companies to promote these kinds of tickets. But I'm telling you, avoid them. Instead, get an IC card like Ikoka or Suica. The physical card or on your iPhone, both are fine. Then buy your tickets using SmartEX, either on the app or the website, because sometimes the app isn't available in certain countries. Now, you link the IC card with your SmartEX ticket before you travel. You just go into SmartEX and copy in the number from the back of the IC card. Then you can go through the ticket gates with just a tap of the card. And here's the thing, tapping with an IC card or your phone is fast, and it even works at random angles. So this way is pretty foolproof. But QR code tickets are slow. They're defeated by simple things like screen protectors. Plus, the JR staff regularly have to hang around the ticket gates to help people make them work. So they're less foolproof and more just proof of fools. I mean, come on. Even paper tickets are easier to use. Now, surprise, surprise, reliable, super fast trains are quite popular. Bullet train stations often look very similar to certain concert venues I love to hate. And when you're in a hurry to get to the bullet train platform, crowds like this are only going to slow you down, especially if you're bringing far too much luggage. Now, you could be a rookie and wade through all that mess, but let me teach you a trick for avoiding those crowds as you cross through stations. Use the secret entrance to the bullet trains. You go to the conventional lines gate. You know, that's the one they have for the super slow local trains. You use your IC card or paper ticket to get in. And if you're using paper tickets, only put in the one that says basic fare. Then follow the signs for the transfer gate, where you can get into the bullet train area. At these gates, you just tap your IC card again, or you insert both paper tickets this time. No, it won't cost you any extra. But now you're inside the bullet train area, you've skipped the terrible crowds, and you'll feel less stressed, which is, incidentally, exactly how you'll feel after reading my insider email. I always put in lots of super helpful Japan travel advice for smart people just like you. Go find the sign up link below. Now, if you've gone through the gates and you're hungry, you've probably made another boo-boo. That's because the ideal time to get food is before you pass through the gates. Shops in bullet train stations often sell meal boxes called bentos because having lunch or dinner on the train is totally a thing. But the best bentos often sell out in shops after the ticket gates, so go shopping before you pass the gates. There's usually way more variety, mainly because there are way more shops. Now, on the bullet train south of Tokyo, there's no drinks or snacks trolley anymore. It went extinct. So you can't buy anything on board except in the green car, and you shouldn't use that because it'll ruin your life faster than the bullet train itself. So you might think that you need to stop by at the Apple Embassy on the way to the station to get some coffee. But actually, you're wrong. Bullet train stations have hot drinks machines. You pay with cash or your IC or credit card, and you watch it making your drink right there on TV. There's also a countdown timer to let you know when it's ready, so you know how long you've got before dashing onto the train, just in case you needed a bit more jeopardy on your trip. Although, absolutely don't stress if life finds a way to make you miss your train. There's no need to worry. You can just hop on the next train and sit in one of the unreserved cars. Okay, so you've got into the station, congratulations, but this is where far too many people make their lives more difficult for really no obvious reason. Well, actually it is obvious. They're too busy playing Instagram to pay attention. But look, you could end up on the wrong platform entirely by misreading the departure board. Don't confirm the platform you need using the train time. Check using the train number. Sometimes trains going in both directions can be leaving at the exact same time, and you don't want to speed off in the wrong direction now, do you? Next, there are several smaller errors that just add more and more stress before you get on the train. A super common mistake I see is people walking way too much to find the right place to wait on the platform. Now that can take so long, you may as well put on hiking boots and attach a bear bell to your backpack. Bullet trains are over 400 meters end to end, which is like a quarter of a mile. So down on the concourse, don't just randomly climb up the first staircase that you see. Find the staircase or escalator that takes you closest to the car you're in. And then, when you're there, check which of the two doors is closest to your seat. Next, it's easy to mess up if you're riding in the unreserved cars. So many people are wildly over-optimistic about getting a seat. Nozomi trains only have 2 cars with unreserved seats. So usually it's pretty tough to get a nice one, and often they're all taken. I've actually stopped using the unreserved seats for this exact reason. Paying a little bit extra for a guaranteed seat is well worth it if it means I'm not playing middle seat roulette. But if you're dead set on using unreserved seats, here's what you do. Arrive 20 minutes early and be first in the queue. But if the train that comes is far too busy, don't be afraid to wait for the next one. Now, when it comes to waiting for the bullet train, a lot of people say to line up within the specially painted lines, but honestly, this isn't mandatory, and I don't enjoy queuing, so what I do is I just wait near the boarding point and I get into the line at the last minute. If you've got a reserved seat, nobody's going to take it, and there's plenty of room on the shelves for luggage. I mean, what do you think this is? A flight with Southwest? If you're bringing more than one case though, try to wait at the front of the queue and don't dilly-dally when you get on. Tardiness when you're boarding is what causes most bullet train delays. And anyway, if you've got that many cases, why aren't you using luggage forwarding? At this point, I'm so pleased you've made it onto the train, you've got a cup of Nozomi blend in your hand, and you're in the correct car. So don't screw it up now. Many people, both Japanese and tourists, love paying money so their luggage can steal their legroom and make their journey less comfortable. You wouldn't do this on a flight, so don't be a proper Charlie, just put it up there on the luggage rack. If you're transporting a Brontosaurus and a few Triceratops, I've already made a video that will explain the large luggage area rules that they have on the Shinkansen. You can check the link in the description. But if you've got exotic pets like those, you can probably afford the very best travel advice. And all that will tell you is use luggage forwarding instead. The next step in failure on the bullet train involves international incidents, aka bad manners. If you watch the locals on board, when they recline their seats, they make this kind of hand gesture to the person sitting behind them, just as a heads up, so they're not surprised. If you feel like improving the reputation of tourists, this may be a smart move, although maybe avoid the ridiculous overacting of this numpty. Now for this next error, you might think that this is just me on one of my rants. It's not. It's actually fact-enforced noise. Imagine you're on the bullet train and all you hear is people speaking dinosaur. Strange language you can't understand and it's hard to tune out of. And it's even harder to ignore when the volume is set to 11,000,005. But see, that's what Japanese people hear when you're yapping away, and it's incredibly annoying. Don't believe me? A recent survey asked over 5,000 people in Japan what foreign visitors do to irritate them on the trains. And 69% of people answered noisy conversations. So basically, get an inside voice or go home. If you're travelling in a group and you have a block of seats, you might be tempted to spin one set around like this, because then you can face each other and have a little party. But honestly, this is also a bad move. Just like a T-Rex visiting a zoo, it might start out quiet, but it's pretty much inevitable that it's going to end up getting very rowdy. If you want to get some downtime on the journey, listen up. Don't expect stellar performance from the free onboard Wi-Fi. On a recent journey, I did some speed tests to compare the Wi-Fi with my phone service. And what should I say? Well, I think the results pretty much speak for themselves. The onboard Wi-Fi drops out sometimes when you go through tunnels, and of course, it slows down when lots of people are using it. So instead, get a good data plan, or remember to download something to watch when you're back at your hotel. We're almost at our destination, but before we arrive, there are two more ways to fail. Luckily, Japan isn't a third world country like England, so the toilets on the bullet train are excellent and generally super clean. So do use them, but don't wait until it's nearly time for you to get off the train. If you do that, you'll find Mr. Last Minute already inside and Mrs. Last Minute queuing up with you. And don't think that you should just use the toilets at the station either. Those bathrooms are hilariously small for the number of passengers the bullet train actually gets. Even men end up lining up there. But the worst mistake you can make is to not be ready to get off when you arrive at your destination. You'll hear a little jingle, an announcement a few minutes before the train gets to a station. This is the right time to get your stuff and head to the doors. Trains generally only stop for a short while at stations, so waiting until you're pulling into the platform is just going to mean a mad scramble. You might leave your head behind, and if you're really slow, you're going to have to dodge passengers getting onto the train. So you've made it off the bullet train with all your stuff, your head's screwed on, and you're not dying to go to the toilet. Well done, you've survived. But before I give you your little trophy, you've got to get out of the station. And that means avoiding the last few mistakes. If you're riding the bullet train for the first time, you might be expecting that you can keep hold of your ticket as a souvenir. Well, sure, but don't expect that, because the gate will keep your ticket when you exit. On the other hand, if you're using a rail pass, you absolutely can keep your seat reservation ticket. Put it in your pocket and exit the gates using only your pass. The last way to fail is a pretty big one, but avoiding this one saves you tons of time. At the end of your journey, you might be switching trains. Maybe you're in Tokyo and you're changing to the Tohoku bullet train. Or maybe you're transferring to local trains like the Yamanote line. Well, if this is you, then whatever you do, don't just use the normal exit gates. Instead, follow the signs and go through the transfer gate. This is the quickest way of switching trains, and it means you only pass through one set of gates. Now, remember before I told you not to use QR code tickets? Well, one of the biggest reasons why they're an epic fail is that they make going through the transfer gate a huge nightmare. With an IC card, you tap once and pass. Easy. With paper tickets, put both tickets in and collect one. Easy. But with a QR code and an IC card, well, first you've got to scan the QR ticket and then tap your IC card. And if you're using Mobile Suica, well, good luck not screwing that up. Anyway, that's all for the bullet trains, but there's plenty more for you to mess up on your trip. So go watch this video next to know what not to do. See ya!